And now it is honestly a true pleasure to have Dave Young of Arma Training, also co-founder of Vistalar. And sorry, I get words mixed up pretty easily. And Dave trains over 3,500 police officers every year.
Yeah, we focus on instructor-based courses.
Yeah, which is, that's a lot. And we had the pleasure just a few minutes ago, Matthew and I, chatting with Dave. Understanding, his philosophy of things, and I'm really excited about some of the stuff we're going to talk about just for a few minutes here today. Dave, what is your, maybe this is actually I know it is a loaded question. What is your guiding principle as to everything you do? Because, as I was listening to you, you clearly have a very holistic approach to the idea of training and preparing somebody for a gunfight, if the need arises. I love your attitude about the mental aspect, the emotional aspect. So I don't know where, we could go down a lot of different roads here. I'm going to throw it in your court here and kind of where do you want to begin? Where do you want to start?
I start off with family first. I'm a father first. I try to remind myself that. I'm a husband second. But first and foremost, we have a very strong God-based family. We're Christians. And being a veteran in the Marine Corps and serving overseas, and a firearm is a tool you got to educate yourself, train yourself on, certify, build proficiencies and skills. I've never looked at a firearm anything else than maybe a mechanic might look at a jack or a power tool. Yeah. Anyone can take a life, but I think you have to have not only respect for yourself, but respect for life and love life. I always tease everybody when I say, being a Christian for so long, God's not bringing angels down to help you. Now, maybe in your mind, there's the presence of God, but I think you got to be pretty grounded in what you believe in. So, I believe in God, and because I believe in God, I respect your opinion. I respect your ability to be you, but on the same token, the ability to be you should never compromise my safety. Yeah. So, there's a very emotional, strong component to being emotionally stable. I carry a firearm for personal protection. I don't carry it for my emotional safety. I just got done telling people a teddy bear will do that. There's a lot of people who have a firearm, but they don't carry it loaded. That's the emotional safety. If they knew they were going to be in a gunfight, the graveyard's full of people who have died. And I think if you resurrect them and say, what would be some of the things you do again, they'd say, I'd practice more. So we have an infographic that says, practice without training is a fool's bet. You don't want to roll your dice on that. I come to the conference at USCCA, and we predominantly train military, security, police, law enforcement. They understand that the firearm is a tool. You come to the U.S. concealed carry, you got the doctors, the lawyers, the bakers, the firemen, you got the teachers, and everyone understands the importance of firearm safety, but maybe the training they've had in the past was education, not training. So I'd like to just give you my analogy. The education is anything that broadens your perspective on a single drill. So if I watch somebody talk about trigger control and I go to a conference like this, I get to hear Mike Hughes talk about the importance of trigger control from him doing competition shooting. And then I get to use a SIRT pistol to validate some of those principles, but nothing beats real trigger time. But what's your option? Do nothing or use airsoft, FX marking cartridges, dry fire your weapon. That's even important. Yep. We're teaching a class on handgun protection. Yep. Protecting your firearm first. I've had people that couldn't take their weapons apart. We had to take their weapons apart. They didn't know if the weapons were loaded. Yeah. The first time a guy drew his weapon in the class, he wouldn't point it at the person, even though we put an orange blocker, even though we did a bunch of drills to make it so we want you training with your own weapons. Yeah. A plastic weapon is safe, but the reality of when I draw that weapon, I get it with game face on. You only get one chance to draw, even though you might get 3 or 4 chances to pull the trigger. So drawing is probably one of the most important skills because it's emotional. Yep. And how do real gunfights start? I always ask this as a trick question. Gunfights don't start ready on the right, ready on the left, ready on the firing line. Shooters, when your target's turning face, fire 2 rounds. They start when you get shot. When does you're in a fight? When you get hit first. Mm-hmm. So teaching people to be stationary, draw a weapon, is going to get him killed. So if you don't move when you draw, you're dead where you stand. So there must be the moving principle, not draw then move. It's move, and then draw while you're moving. But lane shooting doesn't do that. So there is a purpose for lane shooting. It's marksmanship only. And you have to do the whole 4 firearm safety for muzzle the weapon lower than the berm. So the assault position is a great one for the range. But in a gunfight, this is how we scan the area. This is how we look for threats. This is how we engage. This is how I don't flag people. But when I go to the assault position as a range safety thing in a shoot house where I don't have something that the round will stop, I got to keep the weapons lowered. So they see that stuff on video, then they come out to a shoot house and they're repeating stuff on a shoot house when you have a 360 shoot covered.
Yeah.
There has to be a translation between range safety and combat safety. So you come to the conference like this, you get to listen to trainers that share their levels of experience. And this puts you in a trick bag sometimes when you're pulled into a conversation by people who went to your class and they're hearing different philosophies. Like they want to have what's the right way.
Right.
Well, there's a way of doing many things, but when it gets to the point of life and death, that way narrows down. So you teach people based on your own personal experience. I've had to shoot people. I've had people shoot at me. And I'm around to still tell about how they had to shoot at me. So it doesn't make what we're doing 100% right, but it puts it more on a credible listening level than someone who's evaluating videos but never really been in a gunfight. So that's education.
Yeah.
But when you go to training, I pay my money. Training's what you get for it. Free training isn't necessarily great. But if you don't practice whatever it is you're training in, you're letting yourself down. I told them a story in class, got emotional. I said, before my deployments, take a picture of my wife and kids and put it downrange on the target. That's why I'm here. I put them in my helmet. So when I don't want to, I'm on patrols for 16 hours, I still go spend an hour on the range. There's many guys that laid in that rack that weren't here the next day on patrol. So you believe that those training principles and practices work. So I think you got to surround yourself with like-minded people. But in every fruit, every tree, there's different fruit. And you got to separate the people that are fiction. You got to separate the people that are maybe giving you their renditions of the truth. But if you don't practice, you'll never know. Everything sounds great. Everything looks sexy in a catalog. I watch all the holster companies all have the same passion for making the best holster, but it may not be the best holster for that person because holsters are like purses. My wife's got hundreds of purses for every different moment. Right. I see guys come to my class, they got one holster. They put it at 7 o'clock. I say, okay, you just fell on your shoulder, you broke your shoulder, draw your weapon, and that's the first time they're realizing they can't get that weapon out of the holster. So you have to reset their priorities. Accessibility over comfort. If you can't access your weapon with both hands, you're not giving yourself the best start in a gunfight. Can you draw the weapon with both hands? Here's a trick question. So I'll throw it back at you since you did a loaded question on me. You're shooting 100 rounds, let's say is the average. 100 rounds every month. Yep. Right now, how many of those 100 rounds are squeezed with the index finger? All of them, right? So we're training to shoot as long as the index finger is there. So if you have 100 rounds, a third of those rounds should reinforce marksmanship, grip, sight, breathing control, all the basic 7 principles of fundamentals. Yeah. But a third of those rounds need to be fired in awkward positions. Pull the trigger with the middle finger, trying to get my gun back. I broke my index finger. This is not the time to figure out I've never fired the weapon with another finger. What about your dominant eye? We say another third of those rounds should be fired 1 round both eyes open, 1 round left eye open, 1 round right eye open. Because when you're shooting against a person who's shooting at you and I'm behind barricades, debris pops up. So to train to be calm under chaos, you got to create chaos in the classroom. So if your training doesn't translate from the classroom to the range, from the range to the street, we're selling them tickets to a movie they're never going to watch. And quite frankly, when I sign a certificate, I'm signing your insurance policy. There's a lot of certificates that have signed death certificates. They don't really know them yet. And then you hear all these people talk about, well, I like this guy, I like that guy. Don't be a like guy. Don't be a certain gun person. Just be a freaking person that cares about your safety and survival. You know, Jack Hoban, if you ever get a chance to talk with him, he's an outstanding individual. Former Marine. He wrote a book called The Ethical Warrior. Definitely a good read. I make my instructors read it almost every year. Are people safer because you're there? Or are they too intimidated to approach you? Do you have that look like you're repelling danger, which really focuses danger on you? Yeah. Or is everyone a little safer because you're there? Are they happier because you're home? So I think you got to have that emotional connection first. You have to read, pray, train, practice, and get comfortable first. I see too many guys wanting to do advanced skills, and they need to master the basics first. Many ways of putting on a pair of pants, right? Many ways of loading a magazine. Why not load the magazine with the thumb broken on the weak hand? Why not? You'd be surprised how many times it's okay. You shoot 3 rounds, load with the other magazine, your finger's broken. They've never done it before. Or just close your right eye when you're loading. They've never done it before. So every time you practice, practice is supposed to stretch your limits. Training exceeds those limits, and certification confirms those limits. And right after you get certification, you got to go back to the practice. You got to stretch those limits. And if you're not pushing yourself, videotaping yourself while you're doing, for every 1 round you shoot on the range, if you're shooting 50 rounds today, you got to practice drawing 3 times. You got to have 3 draws because you only get 1 shot to draw.
Yeah.
And you go to concealed carry classes, and that's our prerequisite now. Going into this year, we're just going to partner with different groups, with USCCA and a couple other groups that want us to do civilian training. We've been training law enforcement military for so long with a great success rate because I'm there when they leave on the tarmac and I'm there when they come back. So experience is what you get 5 minutes after you had it. When they draw their weapon for the first time, we do a tennis ball drill. Toss the tennis ball up, draw your weapon. They realize they can't get to it. It goes from 7 o'clock, where it's comfortable, to 5 o'clock, where they think it's better, to an appendix where they can get to it.
Yep.
Because then you hear all the myths. Well, don't carry it loaded in the chamber. Appendix will get you killed. That's from a person who's never been.
Shoot your nuts off.
Yeah. That's from a person that has not been certified. He's been educated.
Yeah.
And as a trainer, we're responsible for the misinterpretation. So I always tell my guys, as a trainer, professional trainer, you got to practice 4 hours a week on the stuff you suck at. If you're practicing the stuff you're good at, the stuff you suck at won't get any better, and the stuff you really want to get better will marginally get better. As a concealed carry person, no matter who trains you, you owe yourself an hour a week. Oh, Dave, I can't afford an hour a week. Listen to this. Practice is free. It's going to cost a lot of money to bury him. So if you want to use that as the motivation, that death costs more than practice, your family is going to pay I just buried my brother.
I'm sorry.
It was $13,000 to bury him, and that was to get him cremated. He didn't die because of a gun encounter, but all the stuff, if that was, he could have done some stuff to, you're either increasing your deductible or you're lowering your value. Yeah. So every round has to have a training value. So I think you got to tie all the emotional, mental alertness, physical limitations. You got to practice what these guys are teaching you. And there's dynamic trainers everywhere. Some trainers speak the same language. Some trainers speak a different tone. But you can't miss the message. The message is you got to go back and practice what they give you. If you don't like what you've heard, keep fighting until you find something you're comfortable with. Build a comfort level first. You got to educate your family. When I'm out, if my wife don't carry, we threw this out as a trick question. Stand up if you carry your firearm. They all stand up. I said, now sit down if you got your first aid kit with you right now. They all sit down. So let me get this right. The first aid kit's in the car. You get into a gunfight in the parking lot, and your kid gets shot. You got nothing there to stop the bleeding except sticking a finger in the hole. That you put in the backpack. They have an ankle. I carry an ankle tourniquet. Extra magazines. Now, how many have heard this? Well, how come you didn't shoot him in the leg? Right?
All the time.
Okay, you know how accurate you have to be in how many rounds? I do between 500 and 800 rounds a week. And I'm pretty damn good, but good shooters have bad days, right?
Totally.
To shoot that leg 10 out of 10, I probably got to shoot 3,000 to 5,000 rounds a week. Now, what you shoot January 1st, if it's not replicated by the 20th, you're going to have to shoot double the amount of rounds to be effective. So you need to keep a shooter's log. I got to practice the basics, develop my basics. If you shoot 50 rounds every month and every round has a training value, you are better than the guy in a gunfight that shoots 500 rounds a month that isn't caring about those 500 rounds. So you gotta change your lifestyle. Buy rounds when you're not shooting. Don't go to the range unless you have a shot list. I'm doing 18 rounds at 4 sets. Absolutely. Now, there's fun times. You got downtime. Let's go to the range, shoot bottles, zombies. But our targets are different. We take an 8x10 sheet of paper with a marker and do a 1-inch border. If you can't hit that, why are you shooting big? Why are you giving praises to 5s, 6s, and 7s?
Yeah.
It either hits or it don't hit.
Yep.
Now, let's say we all shoot together. The following month, if you're better, fold your paper in half, shoot the same course.
Yep.
If you're better than him, fold that in a third, shoot the same course. When you can shoot accurately at a 4.5 by 6.5 square, if you don't practice more, you won't have that same shot group. So you're responsible for the round when you pull the trigger. You're responsible for the round when it leaves the barrel. You're responsible for the round legally when it hits the person. And you're really responsible for the people you hit after you shoot the person you're supposed to shoot. So if you're not doing this, if you don't have a training plan, like I give my guys a 365-day vision. This is what you're doing mentally. This is what you're doing emotionally. This is what you're doing physically. And 7 minutes a day will probably put you far ahead in a gunfight, even if you don't shoot a round, because you're drawing, you're practicing, you're moving. And that's where airsoft fits really good. That's where the SIRT pistol works.
Yep.
Dry fire works. But you got to do all three. I got to emotionally say that I'm carrying a firearm to keep everybody safe. And some of the students looked at me a little strange when I said, listen, if someone gets hurt, we have a first aid kit. I have a defib over here. I always have 2 medics or 1 medic wherever we go. But if we have an active shooter at this event, me and my trainers are here to train you. We will die for you. We will cover the door. 2 of my trainers will take you into this room, into this room, into this room, and then you'll leave, and we'll see you when it's over. I don't want you trying to draw your weapon and come with me, because, see, I'm certified to do this because we trained to do this, because we practiced to do this, and I got educated to do this. Why do I want you next to me? You'll die because, look at the teachers in the school. I say, raise your hand if you would throw your body over a student if they were going to get shot. They all raise their hand. I said, let me ask you something. Why would you both want to die why wouldn't you try to defend him at the door, kill him at the door, and take a 50-50 shot that you get to live too?
Yeah.
Because you're saving them there. Covering them on their body, you're hoping the gun jams. Yep. So you got to think past the gunshot. You got to think past the encounter. How many magazines? I carry 1 in the visor when I travel. I carry 1 in the weapon, 1 in the right ankle if I'm driving. If I'm up, always got 3. 1 in the weapon, 2 on me. I got 1 in the trunk of the car in case I got to pop the trunk up for cover. If I'm in my house, I got them on the top of the door on Velcro when I have to retreat to another room. You got to place your weapons and your ammo where they're going to be, not where you hope they are. Because you're not going to have a little vertically challenged person with a kit and a vest traveling around like, here's magazine. It's not like you're going golfing, right? So, and we try to add humor because the stuff is intense for people. But if I carry a weapon, my wife has a certain level of expectations that I'm going to keep her safe. Yeah. And if I get killed, I have to have a certain level of hope that she'll be able to pick up that weapon and do her part. So you should educate your family. We're doing a class tomorrow on how to manage the safety wraps between you and your kids. But then you got to go back as a parent now and put the instructor hat on and find out what makes sense. But you got to give it to them. Good hunters that are kids don't get it through mental telepathy because their dad was a great hunter. Right. My 2 kids are combat vets. Not because I am or was or been doing this stuff for a living. They're combat vets because they got educated. They did training. Yep. They got certified, and they practice. Yeah. And I think you got to look at the whole package. Wow. You can tie it to faith. I do. You could tie it to you caring, karma, or whatever. But they've always practiced in their mind before they kill us. They're going to come up behind you. They're going to shoot you first, lame you. They're going to punch you before they grab you. So you got to look at handgun protection, which is managing distance, controlling position. You have to understand basic indicators on identifying awareness. So I'm going to ask you guys to do a drill with me and kind of put you on the spot. Go like this. Put it right here on your chin. Now, I travel around the country and I say, put it on your chin, and people do what they see. and the reason why that's important, we get everybody that do it, is you're more visually educated in times of crisis and stress. And if you don't have anything in your brain to train it, to put it in priorities, to let you understand the sequence, That's why people go into blind panic. They pull the trigger before the weapon's cleared the holster. They grab the weapon without disengaging the safety. They do all those little things, and they don't realize that I leave it with this. If you go home tonight and on your pillow there's an envelope, and you open the envelope and it says, on this time and date, in this location, at this area, this weather, you're going to be attacked by this person, height, weight, skill level. Would you change your safety lifestyle now? Everybody says yes. So I make them pull out their concealed carry permits. That's your darn invitation. So I try to get the point across where it's not, scaring, because it's sensitive. But the reality of carrying a gun is, do you know why officers wear a 2A or a 3A level threat vest? Your vest is to protect you in case they shoot you with your weapon. Half these people ain't carrying vests. So they're going to be drawing when they're shot. That has to be a basic skill. That's not an advanced skill. You know how many times we do a drill where we have the lady walk out of the store, she's holding the kid's arm. I have the bad guy run out between 2 or 3 cars, he's already shooting. Lady draws a weapon, kid get behind. We tell the kid, because after the 3rd or 4th simunition round, I want you to get like your shot. Mommy, mommy, mommy. How many people drop the weapon, turn around, and then they both die? That to emotionally prepare yourself that when you get shot, your kids are going to hear you. They're going to want to come to your aid. So you got to have that family action plan when you're attacked. You got to practice. You got to do fire drills. We do a scenario where I do a water combat class. Park rangers, SOG officers, Coast Guard. We put them in the water. We make them fight in the water. And then we do a 1,200-yard or 1,500-yard open water swim, and climb on the boat. And I trained one government agency that had 197 people. 94% of their agency went through the training, and had 72 logged rescues, which means I had to jump in the water, pull your personal face device, grab you by the collar, mouth to mouth you, hit you in the chest, roll you on your side, hit you with it 72 times. I had to save people.
Jeez.
All those people that we had to save watched a video on, this is a personal flotation device. It will go around your neck. When you can't breathe, times of distress, cramping, muscle spasms, take your hand and grab the yellow tab and pull it straight down, and it will inflate your vest and you'll be safe.
Yeah.
The last thing you're thinking about when you have water coming down your nose, you're spitting it out of your mouth, your sphincter's trying to get another leg to keep you elevated in the water, is pulling that yellow tab. And they didn't tell you that the yellow tab now is bouncing because they never told you to tether it, right, to put it in a place.
Yeah.
From the training director to the deputy chief was part of those 72.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to do fire drills.
Wow.
If you just get your gun and never take it to the range, you're hoping it fires. If you get your gun, you don't practice drawing it. Every time you buy a holster, there's 15 drills you should be doing, and you need to be doing this 30 days before you wear it out in the real world. There should be a 30-day climatization with every new holster you get. You need to wear it, draw it, clean it. We told people to take screws, take their holster apart after today's 3-hour class, and tighten all the screws. Well, why? Because there's a lot of tension inside that, trauma inside that holster.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times after a 40-hour law enforcement course, the guy goes to draw the weapon and it fell, and the handle's down here.
Totally.
Because the screws come out.
And use some Loctite.
Absolutely, yes. So I think you do. I mean, social media is a good educator, but you got to surround yourself with like-minded people. You got to have people that push your limits, stretch your limits.
Wow.
And I think if you tie the whole package together, when that time comes, you won't be hoping, you won't be praying. Those are for the unprepared. And I say that with a very sincere heart. I pray every day, but I practice more. And I think one day if I miss a prayer, if I miss that practice, it's going to hurt me even more. Now, I've had all the stories, especially overseas, where I've heard guys say, well, the guy went to pull the gun, we went to pull it and went click. He was able to put his magazine into play. Divine intervention, I believe. But that's not should be the number one plan. That's like plan B. But if you don't have a plan A, that this is what I'm going to do when it occurs, how can you possibly think you're going to make it up when it happens?
Wow.
Good stuff.
Holy smokes. Dave, I can't believe we've never talked before. And we can honestly talk all day long.
I think we can.
And really, we'll just sit here and just, imbibe on your wealth of knowledge and experience. Folks, I think this is probably one of the more educational sessions that we've had on the live broadcast of the show. I think we got to get you back for the podcast. Would you do that?
Yeah, I'd be honest.
The Concealed Carry podcast? Because we gotta have him on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Unfortunately, it's time for us to wrap it up. Dave, I'm just speechless here. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for
coming
having
by.
me, guys. Thank you.